Okay, this is Opps.ai, campaigns to pitch investors. This is basically a process that you can use using Opps.ai. I'll kind of talk about how to reach out to investors and what your campaign overall needs to look like, and how you can use the data and automations in Ops to do that. We put this out as a Zoom link and we had a lot of opt-ins. So I apologize if you're watching this and you don't realize there's a Zoom link because it looks like that didn't work too well. So what we'll probably do is we'll probably do this again live as a LinkedIn live. That seemed to work fine last time. So we probably shouldn't have changed it up. But anyways, I'm Michael Devellano from Opps.ai. I'm the founder of Opps, and I'm just going to share with you. Here's my presentation and I will walk you through it. If you do have questions, I will post this up on LinkedIn and I'll send it out to everybody that did opt in because there were quite a few opt-ins. So maybe there was just some confusion that the online event was a Zoom. I don't know what happened there. Anyways, hopefully this is still really valuable to you and you can get an idea. I'm going to give you an overview of what is Ops, how you create campaigns, and I think to be successful, and how you can use Ops to do that. And then if you want to try out Ops to get data on investors, I'll show you at the end of this how you can do that for free. And if you want help setting up and managing and running your campaigns, I'll show you that as well. At least there'll be no interruptions. Wow, that's important. All right, so this is Ops campaigns to raise essentially. So Ops is basically a platform that we've developed, and our goal is to be the easiest way to generate conversations, in this case, with your ideal investor. It can also be used for B2B outreach, which is also a major part of this. The way Ops started was really two things. One is background that I had as a CTO, learning how to get to the inbox of either your ideal customer typically or investor, and use that methodology to grow Founders Pack. Wrote my second book, Form Your Own Pack, which is how to build scalable ventures through cooperation. And part of that is building a mastermind of investors and advisors. And we did that successfully to grow Founders Pack podcast and our newsletter to over 4,200 people. We've interviewed a lot of YC founders and investors in scalable startups, VCs, accelerators, LPs, angels. So we've used this methodology ourselves to reach this audience, and I'm going to show you what I would do to run your campaigns to reach investors for your startup. All right, so problems that we can solve. So Ops really evolved out of Founders Pack, and now it's a platform, and one we can provide accurate data for email outreach and LinkedIn campaigns. We also have methodology around email deliverability, which is a real challenge right now. So if you are out there and you're trying to get to the inbox of your ideal customer investor, we can give you some insight and help with that. For email, you definitely need volume. So typically, in B2B settings, if you want one conversation, you got to send anywhere from 300 to maybe 1,000 emails, just depending on what's landing in the inbox and is the message getting to the right person and does it resonate. LinkedIn outreach is also very effective, and you can use Ops data for that. And we have some automation tools that we can help you with to set up LinkedIn outreach campaigns, but the volume tends to be much lower, but it's high quality. So out of this, any campaigns you want to run, our goal is how do you get 10 to 20 or more meetings a month while protecting your reputation of your domain and yourself. Your outreach to investors. So here's kind of like a best practices that I think you want to follow. First of all, you want to find your dream 100. Who are the dream 100 investors that you think, hey, I would like them to be my investor? That's always really helpful. You want to be really targeted, and you want to make sure that they invest in things at the right stage. So if you're pre-seed, don't go to someone that only invests in Series A, right? Make sure that your contacts, when you just check it out, are investing at pre-seed, and also that they invest in your sector. Overall, I think you want 1,000 to 2,000 ideal total potential LPs, maybe more, maybe less, but I think 1,000 to 2,000 is a good place to start. So LPs being limited partners, people that invest in VCs, are a really good starting point. We'll talk about why. Angels, which I think I spoke correctly. So these are people that write individual checks at pre-seed companies, maybe, or seed stage, and you have to again know their stage. And then venture capitalists. The first two can be gateways to the third part of this. Okay, so we're going to talk about the two types of campaigns you want to run. And I think just overall, you probably need 100 to 200 pitches to raise your round, assuming that you've got like some product market fit or traction or you tell the right story. There are really good people out there who can advise you on crafting your story, but I'll give you kind of a little bit of a framework that I think will work. You generally want to get introductions. So that's why I say LPs and angels are useful. That data is really useful to, and particularly if you're already friends with them. That's really helpful, but not necessarily always a prerequisite um, to the higher VCs. You want to use a little bit of a ladder theory here, and then those you generally want like 50 or more introductions. So kind of if you can get to LPs or angels or other people that have connections, it might be lawyers as well, but I think um, LPs and angels are usually connected to VCs because there's the ones either investing in companies and they want to get them to the VC level, or they've already invested in the VC fund and they want, anyone that they believe in, they can connect you. So who are your friends? Do you already have people that are angels or LPs, or founders? Can be both. So founders, particularly founders that have raised, right? So that sort of data is really important when you're creating these campaigns. And then just have your story framework. And again, this is not necessarily like the end all and be all, but I think these are basics that you want to get in place when you're telling your story. And I'm going to talk to you about the pastor framework, and that you want to communicate some sort of traction, like, business traction or raise wise. And you want to be able to make a 1 minute pitch. So we've run a lot of pitch events at Founders Pack, and we do a really, really tough thing. We give you 60 seconds to pitch your startup, and then people judge it. And the people are usually like angels, investors, accelerator as LPs or VCs, right? And just remember, this is a status game. So I think a friend of mine who's a startup coach, Jack and Will, um, they said it the best. You want to create FOMO, and they have a really good webinar on raising. So, and they can be really good startup coaches. So you might want to look for them. But Jabroni Capital, which is kind of funny, but I highly recommend them. And I think they said it. Can you create buzz? Can you create PR? Do you have, something out there that creates fear of missing out that someone's not going to invest in you is really helpful. All right. So what you need to do is you need to create relationships with your ideal investors, right? Cold is dead, but it's not dead. Cold is dead for a couple reasons. Like there's always trust. That's one factor. And then there's technical. There's like technical trust. So we're going to talk a little bit about both. There is a bit of an email Armageddon out there, so you've got to kind of comply with and fight through that. And I'll talk about what that is. But basically Google came out with, if you're doing any sort of email outreach, which gets you scale to the right people, getting to the inbox is tricky, depending on what your domain reputation is and who you're sending to. So there's some technical stuff you got to get set up, and we can help with that a little bit. And Google and Outlook, particularly, have been, and Yahoo, are major email providers out there. And they've, Google particularly created some frameworks that support what I'm saying to you, but it's not, an end all. And it's not like perfect that if you comply, you're going to get to the inbox. So you want to really have good data, good messaging, and then good sending assets, i.e. domains that are warmed up and probably not your main domain. Look-alike branded domains that have good reputation. You build up the reputation, maintain the reputation through good behavior. Deliverability is a real challenge. So you could have the best pitch here to get a meeting and it hits in spam and whoops. Fatigue, like there's a lot of email, obviously. So whether you're sending to investors, angels, LPs, even B2B, like everyone's just getting a lot of email. If everything looks the same, it doesn't stand out, then it's going to be a problem. Annoying messages like guilt or naggy, wrong assumptions, bad offers, right? Like it's like, no, this is not something I invest in, or it's not something I'm interested in. And you'll get that. That's why you need 100 to 200. But you want to try to stand out a little bit here is really the key. How for us, our approach is generative conversational outreach. So what does that mean? We're building ops to make it easier to deal with the technical aspects of campaign setup and finding data. And we're encouraging you to talk to people like people, even if it's messages that, kind of scale across a bunch of data. And I think that you want to do two things. Like you definitely want to network, and talk to people, but you want to set up campaigns for outreach on LinkedIn and email. And maybe even we'll talk about, Twitter DM can be effective, might be worth experimenting with. But the first two channels, that's what we're going to focus on. So what I'm going to suggest to you is that you can sign up for Opps.ai and you can get curated data sets or you can build your own data set around investors. And then the best practice is you can download that data and put it into small scalable email campaigns to reach the person's inbox with the right message. Okay, so you don't want one email address where you're sending thousands of email a day. You want multiple branded domains that are managed across, where managed, I say like, maybe 500 to 1,000 contacts in multiple campaigns with one email address, and you're sending 20 to 50 emails a day with a warmed up email address. That's best practice. Okay, that's the technical aspect. LinkedIn, it's a little bit different scenario where you're sending an invite, you're trying to get someone to add you back and then spur a conversation, but you don't want to send naggy multiple messages on LinkedIn. That's not good. Okay. This is Ops, and we'll give you access to this at the end of it. Ops will allow you to find data on your ideal investor. So that is basically two ways. One, you can search filter, click investor, figure out like who invests in what industry, or check size, and then you can drill down once you get that data and look, do they invest in at this stage? That's important. Or you can go to the marketplace and you can find, we'll post up some new data on, I think we have a list of like 250 to 2,000 VCs, but then you also want some LPs and angels. So we can help get you started in that. And what types of data? Ideal investor profiles, funded companies. So it's going to be important to talk to founders that are similar stage or just past your stage. I think that's important. I think it's also important to talk to, people that do invest in smaller checks or that invest in VCs, and then use that as a ladder to make friends and get introductions to VCs, if that's appropriate, depending on what stage you're at. And what does your campaign look like? Okay, so we'll talk a little bit in a couple of different ways. One is, your messaging. I'm just going to jump to this before we get into the platform and the technical part, but what's the message? You don't want to be vague. You want to demonstrate momentum, and momentum can be, hey, we've raised this much from this important person, thought maybe you'd be interested in your fit, or that you've got revenue, or you've got some product that's revolutionary, maybe. Ask if you can send show, like pitch the idea of not like, a specific date and time. There's some research around this, but essentially you want to pitch them on the idea of, can I send you an exec summary? Or can I send you a video? Or is this worth talking about? Like, would you like to meet? And having a short meeting. And kind of, it's probably one of those three that is less risky for someone to say yes to, particularly if you know them, it's really good. That's helpful. But basically you want to sell the idea of a short call or something that leads to a short call. All right. And then how are you going to tell your overall story? I mentioned before, like, I think you have to have your 1 minute pitch down. And I think it always starts with this. Pastor's like a copywriting framework. And I think this is really helpful to tell your startup story. And I think that it's this, right? It's like, why does your startup exist? There's really three things. There's like what you do, how you do it that's unique, but then there's the why, right? Like what motivated you. And Pastor can help you tell the why. And I think that's what emotionally connects investors and maybe creates momentum for you. So you want to say, look, there's a person with a problem in the world. This is my ideal client profile, or I had this problem. I'm my ideal client. And I realized if this problem never changed, here's how terrible the world would be. And there's actually, another framework within that, which says, I hate X, I hate this problem. And everybody is living with X and thinks it's okay to live with it, but I don't think so. And I think Y is the alternative to this. And that's kind of like, you want to amplify if the world never changes, but then the story and the solution is, here's my solution, right? I think Y is the solution. Everyone should be on Y and not X. That makes sense. And then transformation, this is where you can demonstrate that you've already done this for people, or you solved it for yourself, or solved it for someone else or a bunch of someone else's. Like here's where you talk about traction. And then, the offer is the opportunity really in what you want, which is in this case, maybe you're trying to pitch a founder to introduce you to people that might invest in this or give you feedback on your summary. Maybe that's your that's one segment of campaigns. Or same thing, angels or LPs to, meet other investors that would be appropriate, or maybe they are interested. Okay, so that's the offer and the response part of this. So the other way to do that, by the way, this is going backwards almost, but it helps if you have a lot of friends, right? So, whether you throw events, whether you have a group that you have people in, there are people that are startup founders or investors, you either participate in or you run. Maybe you put out a book, I don't know, on your why, like your pastor story has put out a book. And this is like, maybe you don't need to raise this second and you want to build this up 3, 6 months in advance. Doing a podcast to, it's like, look at Founders Pack. We have a lot of friends who are founders. We have a lot of friends who are investors because we spent 2 or 3 years now writing about them and interviewing them and learning from them. So that can be really useful. Maybe you've written, like I said, articles on them or do a newsletter on them. This can be a nice approach. Even when you're doing conversational campaigns, you want to build rapport somehow. Hey, I saw your post and thought that maybe you might be able to be interested in this, what I'm building and I'm raising for. I'll use this as an example. Harry Stebbings, he's the founder at 20 VC, interviewing VCs, right? Investors, and then started multiple funds. So he's raised money, but for the funds, not necessarily a product. And how do you do it? He's interviewing people and learning from them. Always be concise, ask a question, make sure your contact's in there, sell the conversation, not like, not something that's threatening. It's like, hey, is this worth talking about? Can I send you an exec summary? Can I send you a video with an exec summary? The other approach is to be weird, right? Like that problem that exists in the world. If you say, I hate the fact that this is the way the world is, and it's terrible if this never changes. And I really believe the way to fix that, my solution and the story of how I came to this is this other way, that it's product I built or this approach I want to build. Let's face it, like it's a lot easier now to build tech, and the tech risk is drop, right? So you can get product market fit a little bit, or at least build a demonstrable product of what your why is. And not two different whys, but in this case, the letter Y, which is your alternative to what's out there. Right? So you can show your product a little bit, and maybe that's part of it. And really, though, your story of why, WHY, is that thing we talked about in Pastor, which is, here's how I'm going to change fix the problem, and here's my solution and story, and this is the transformation that I have witnessed. A friend suggested you go viral. This is always easier said than done, but having a really successful product hunt, and you can use campaigns and data and ops to promote your product hunt. It's like, man, we're the top product on product hunt, and we're raising right now. We can demonstrate traction, right? If you have your controversial opinions on LinkedIn or Twitter, that can get you attention. And some people raise VC funds that way. Like a lot of VCs, a lot of angel investors, LPs are on Twitter and on LinkedIn. So your audience is there, and you can scrape a lot of that data and enrich it, put it into ops for outreach, and we'll kind of show you how that works. Or you've got crazy traction again. You got a crazy cool investor, or you've done a crazy amazing deal, or you solved a big problem. These are ways to get a lot of attention and promote that you're worth talking to. All right, so this is just really rough format. I wouldn't use this verbatim, but the copying framework, we talked about your story, your 1 minute pitch. I think there's two types of campaigns. The first bucket are founders, or maybe angel or LPs that you want to get introductions from them to investors. So it might be founders to LPs or angels, or if you know LPs or angels, or you want to reach out to them, you can use those to either get introduction to angel groups or other angels or investors if you're pre-seed, or if you need introductions from them to VC. And you just got to make sure again that your Dream 100 is tight. So if you build a list of people that are LPs and we enrich it, and you say, hey, I know you're an LP in X and they're a dream investor of mine. What would it take for me to meet them? We have this much traction. Can I send you an exec summary? Is this worth talking about? Right. So that same framework of this is who I am. There's some rapport building statement potentially in there. I'm in the middle of raising for my company, which here's my category. This is another interesting idea, which is create your own category. And if you talk about a really good book on this is the Founder Brand. So if you look up Founder Brand, I forget the gentleman's name that wrote it off the top of my head, but that talks about creating your own category of product. And it's like us, generative conversational outreach is our own category. It's new, and it asks people like, well, what is that? And what's it solve? Then you can get into your pastor story, right? And then can I get your feedback on our exec summary? Or is this worth talking about? Or do you know someone that would be interested? You want something that's soft enough that it's not threatening and it's not trying to chew up a lot of their time. And if you've piqued their interest in the middle part, shown you've done a little bit of research by relating to them in a rapport building statement, this is kind of generally how you would structure emails or LinkedIn outreach messages. And then, you might want to go direct to who you think your ideal investor is. So, these may or may not be masked. There's only 100 in there. So you got to think about it a little bit. Like, what is the connection? It's like, listen, firm name, A16Z or whoever it is a dream for me. I really respect how you did this. I'm in the middle of raising. Is there any advice you can give me? Or this is what I do. This is my unique positioning. Or I think this problem exists in the world and I hate it and I want to fix it with Y. Here's the traction, either raise product or revenue that I have to do this. Is this worth a conversation? Can I send you an exec summary or a video on what I'm doing? And this is basically the framework of what all the copywriting will be. I saw this post, which I thought was really interesting. And I thought two things. I saw the post that ripped off this post verbatim. That was weird, but it's worth reading. And this, Janine, sorry, Sua basically has a pretty good framework here that she suggested that a founder who reached her did. It's like rather than asking like just who do you know that invests in X, said, look, here's my ideal investors, right? Your Dream 100. She, in this case, individually saw that she was connected to that Dream 100, shot an email to say, hey, do you know them? You can kind of shorten this, right? If you want to put, let's say you're reaching out to 500 or 1,000 people through email or LinkedIn, and they match the LP, angel, or founder profile of your segment, of your campaign, and say, this is my Dream 100. Wondering if you're connected to this particular VC. And not even 100. This is my dream investor. It helps if you know if they actually are, right? Because you can see their first degree connections. But this just demonstrates that you can do this with copy. You don't have to do it individually one-on-one necessarily, but it's not a bad idea. But I think you want both scale and then targeted to build momentum. And she actually gave an example that I think is very similar to what I was suggesting. If you follow the pastor framework, build out your 1 minute pitch and a 1 page exec summary. And actually, I think I put in here a good framework for a 1 page exec summary that you can use. Give me 1 second, I'll see if I put it in or not. And then that's your story, right? So you build your data on who you're targeting, you segment it out. Are these people that I want to meet that have raised, and maybe they can give me introductions or feedback? People that are in your dream list and people connected to your dream list, right? So that might be 2 or 3 campaigns there. Then there's the technical aspect which is really, you want the data to be verified and clean, which we can provide, and I'll give you access to Opps, and I can do a little onboarding for you at the end of this. And then you want conversational outreach, as I've kind of shown from a copy point of view. All right, so this is Opps. It's a little weird because nobody's really joined the Zoom, which is interesting. I feel bad about that. Oops, I stopped sharing. So Ops is two things. One, it'll integrate, so you can automate your email outreach with Ops. You can go Ops Plus, so you can get data from Ops on investors, and then you can go to Ops Plus, or if you already have Smartly, you can just integrate it to Ops. This platform is tolerant of cold email. You can create automated sequences, pretty inexpensive to do this. For us, it's like 79 bucks a month for Ops Plus. And then outbound email account setup, like we can optionally do this for you for a one-time fee where we register branded domains. We put them into warm up and make the reputation solid starting wise anyway, right? And you can manage it right within Ops Plus, or if you're at Smartly, you can do that. And then once those domains are warmed up, you can do automated outreach campaigns. So this is what Ops looks like. You can search by filters. And then when you get a search result, you can redeem credits, and we'll give you free lifetime credits. If you want the free basic, you can, I'll give you a coupon code at the end. You can do checkout with Stripe to $0 that out, and you get 3,000 records a year, 250 a month for life. You can redeem that through a search result. So let's say you get a search result. In this case, oh, there's 2,158 records in my search result, but I only have 250 tokens maybe. So you go, well, I want 100, right? You can do that. You can just redeem a partial search result. So searching by filters is one way. You can drill down then and see the data inside of it, or you can download a CSV to take a look at the data. I mentioned that you can integrate to an existing Smartlead account for free. You just put your API token in. If you don't have cold outreach already, you can upgrade to Ops Plus, which is a white label version of Smartlead basically, and it's already integrated to our platform. So then anytime you have data, you'll see there's these three little dots next to any of the lists that you've acquired. You hit that, it says new campaign, you can create a campaign. You can also get curated data. Either we build you a list, or you can go to our marketplace and you can find, oh, these are companies that were invested in by Sequoia, and you want to outreach to them. Bessemer Venture Partners, same thing. So this is how you can kind of build your two sets of campaigns. And then there's also direct lists that we'll put on the marketplace for you. We have a couple that we're just going to turn on that are investors directly. So this is why I say maybe part of your campaign is founders, another part are LPs and angels, and then you kind of ladder your way up to investors. And there's maybe investors along the way, right? This is an example of data if you download it in CSV format that you can use, and you can kind of look at it and make sure it's correct. If you don't, I already showed it, you can look at it on screen and you can look at an individual record, but you can actually also download in CSV when you hit download. And it's an example of campaigns. So Ops Plus, basically you can create a campaign, it moves the data into the campaign, and then you insert your copy. And then you have all your email addresses that when we set up branded domains, I wouldn't use your main domain. I would use lookalike domains that you create, you warm up, and you do low daily volume to reach the inbox of your ideal investor. And this is where you would put your copy that you write. For email, I would do 2 or 3 steps max. LinkedIn, you're going to send an invite and then a welcome. I'll talk about LinkedIn as well. So LinkedIn automation, we can give you a seat of our LinkedIn automation. It's not built into Ops per se, but you can use the data from Ops in those campaigns. And you can also actually use a Sales Navigator search. Sales Navigator is really important. It gets you the maximum number of invites. So you're going to basically do two things. You're going to send an invite message and then a welcome message, and that's it. Typically, you're only going to get 400, maybe 700 invites a month. So what your goal is write a really good campaign that gets to the right person and gets you 20 to 30% of those people adding you back. And then out of that, can you get 10 to 20% of that group? So you get 10 to 20 conversations from LinkedIn, 10 to 20 conversations from your email campaigns or more, right? Like that's really the goal. If you do 20 and 20, there's 40 right there. And then there's your referral source almost, so that you can scale up email a little bit easier. If you have multiple founders, right, you should use each of your LinkedIn accounts so you double the number of invites, right? So you can see where you can kind of get scale that way. And again, same thing, you're going to put in copy for your connection request, and then you're going to put in copy for your welcome message. I would not do 4 steps. I would do connection request and then a follow-up message, and that's it. And if people don't respond to that, then I would pull that data out and do something else with it in email. All right. So again, Sales Navigator, really important. We can take those search results and enrich it with data from Ops. So that's outside of Ops a little bit, but we can do that for you, or just find data on Ops that has LinkedIn data in most of the records. They have business email and LinkedIn. And then you want conversational outreach in two channels, right? Email, which gets you some scale but lower response rates typically. LinkedIn, which gets you higher response rates, but you have less scale and volume that you can send out. And I think you have one campaign segment for sure that are founders that you know or that you want to meet that have raised and can give you feedback and introductions to angels or LPs, or angels and LPs that can give you connections into accelerators or VCs. So I think there's at least two segments here, maybe three. And the segments mean different campaigns, a little bit different messaging, and then different data. And I would use different domains if it's email and figure out if it's just one LinkedIn, which is your priority. And it's probably tier one to start, and then you worry about tier two later. All right. And then, there's this thing about momentum. Like, you need 100 to 200 meetings. You don't want to do that slow. You want to get to everybody as fast as possible, all at the same time. So you're filling your calendar and building momentum. Very important. You want to get to those first 50 to 100 founders or, small investors first. And then you want to either, get, depending on what stage you're at, get introductions to investors from them or get investment from them. So I think Blitz, like, this has got to be a 1, 2, 3 month max campaign where you go hard. Demonstrate success. I think it's like, what have you raised is the first tier. It's like, hey, we've raised this from this person. Thought you might be interested. That can build like momentum and status. Second is really around revenue. Hey, we've closed this deal. We have this much revenue. We got really good traction. We need more. We need investors to do this. It's a great opportunity. Product, which is we've built this crazy thing to solve this crazy problem. I don't see anybody else doing this. Thought you might be interested. And there are guys that invested those stages. Include materials like a one-page exec summary. I don't think I included it. Darn it. Oh, I forgot to include it. I will include what I think is, yeah, and you can sign up for free for Ops. Just use the Stripe code RAISE Ops on our basic plan, and that can get you some investor data right away. And then if you want Ops Plus or LinkedIn, just go to our website and click book an onboarding call or send me a DM, and you can, we'll get you set up even on a trial on Ops Plus for probably not LinkedIn. Well, maybe we'll talk about it. But if you want us to run everything, also I would just book an onboarding or send me a DM. We'll redo this, and hopefully I'll do a little bit tighter. I apologize. I don't know what happened. I guess people didn't realize that this was supposed to be a Zoom link. Normally you have a lot of people in these. I know there's a lot of people registered, so I feel bad. I'll post this up on YouTube and LinkedIn and send it to everybody that did register, so you will get it. And I will also include, I have a one-pager sample and summary of the kind of 5, 6 things that you want to do to include in an exec summary. Like, again, it's kind of that pastor framework to start. It's like, here's a problem that's in the world. If we never solved it, this was what we were worried the world would remain horrible. And I really believe this is the solution to this. And here's a story of why this is important to me and why I'm committed to solving this, and convincing everybody to come over to why, and why is better. And, here's traction we have. Here's what we need, right? That's kind of your 1 minute pitch framework, also in an executive summary. And here's my team. And then if you want us to do it, we can manage all of your domain setup. We can manage on a white glove basis. We've been putting this together for people where for $500 one time, you get 5 branded domains. We do all the DNS setup. We do all the warm up for them. We'll give you 3,000 premium records. So you can get 250 for free. As I mentioned, you can do that now. And then we will set up your email outreach segments, data in each one, campaign copy, and your LinkedIn outreach automation. And if you want, we can experiment with Twitter DM. We've been experimenting with that, and that can be actually potentially pretty effective, but definitely for 500 bucks and then anywhere from 199 to 997. It just depends on if you want how many users on LinkedIn is important. So if you and several co-founders, it's more seats. And if you need more data, if you think you need a lot more data, but starting at 500 bucks and then 199 a month, you can get what you see in front of you. 3,000 premium records of investors, 5 branded domains, all set up and warmed up, setup of your email and LinkedIn outreach, and then you'll get seats, right? You'll get seats for LinkedIn automation, so you can go in and respond to people that are responding to your campaigns. Same thing with email. And then we'll even do like a bi-weekly call with you to see what copy is working and how do we have to adjust it. Eventually, and I want to show this, we have something inside of Ops called Valet, and that is our generative copilot. And that's where the generative part of this comes from. Because what we're moving to increasingly is just telling Ops what you want. Tell Valet, which is the copilot inside of Ops, listen, I want data on this ideal investor profile. And it'll say, okay, I have this many records. No, I want a campaign targeting this segment, this ideal investor profile. And it'll say, okay, I have this much data. How much do you want? I've set up the campaign, I've moved the data. So it eliminates a lot of this stuff. But right now you can do that on your own. And that's the least expensive way to do it. Plus, we'll give you a seed of LinkedIn automation, which down the road we will enable that. And I'm going to show you this. If you want just data, if you sign up now, use that code in Stripe, raise ops, and you will get 250 records. And you can use that in the marketplace or just a search result and redeem up to 250 records a month for life. So it's 3,000 records a year. So you can do that now, no obligation. If you do that, let me know. I'm happy to do a little onboarding and walk you through it. And if you want to use our campaign automation or help connecting your Smartlead account, I can do that. And we can talk about if you want us to run things for you as well. Just go here on Opps.ai, click an onboarding call if you want to book time with us to show you through and get you set up. Try it now if you just want to go in and use that coupon code to sign up and get your data. If you want us to run things, like I mentioned, it's kind of like between 199 and 997, just some variables there is the amount of data, how many co-founders are on LinkedIn, and if you want more email addresses. This is the sort of thing we want, right? We want to be able to send out and get high opens, although opens are getting to be problematic and all. I can explain that, but it's being a problem. We're heading towards no open tracking future. Really what we're going to want is replies. That's honestly going to be the only metric because there's some stuff going on that's preventing accurate tracking, where if you have a pixel that tracks the open, it's being sent to spam. This is like a new development. So opens are getting tricky, but we want just really good reply rates. This is where we're at from a platform point of view, by the way. So we started November 23. We had the first generative version we were kind of playing with. In January, we have 174 million records we added. So we have premium data. So we have lots and lots of data. Create campaigns in Ops Plus. So we connected this to Smartlead and then a white label version of that called Ops Plus. And then in June, we came out with Valet 1.0 where we can generate data. And then Valet 2.0 is in September, which is you can actually generate campaigns from a generative request in Valet, so which is our chat. And I'll kind of show you what that looks like. In the future, what we're launching with this is it'll also create copy. So you'll be able to put in what's your goal, what's your target, what channel is this, what tone do you want, what do you, what's the problem the person you're reaching out to is, what's your solution, and what do you want the outcome to be, like call, video, whatever the call to action is, and it'll write you some pretty damn good copy. So we're working on that right now. We're going to work on automating the setup of those domains. Right now it's a little bit manual, but we're going to make that happen magically. And then we'll integrate LinkedIn. Right now, LinkedIn's a little bit manual and we have seats for that, but we want to get to the point where you can tell, no, Valet, and I'll show you what Valet looks like. Valet, create a LinkedIn campaign for outreach targeting this ICP or ideal investor or ideal customer. Or here's a link in Sales Navigator, use this data. So we want to get to that. And then we're working on enriching LinkedIn search data with emails and other contact details. Also integrating to HubSpot and Salesforce in the future, and then just general data enrichment. We got some neat stuff working on. So if you do sign up, again, you can do that with this code, Raise Ops and Stripe, lifetime access for the free basic plan, gets you 250 records a month. You can redeem that in the marketplace, which is this, or just by search results. So no problem, you can go do that. If you want help, we can talk about done for you campaigns. What was I going to offer here? Yeah, we need feedback really too. So when you're using it, if you notice something that you think could be improved, send me a message, an email at hello@opps.ai and say, hey, this is really good, or this is really bad, or I would do this, or I'm really looking forward to this feature that's on the right. This one's more important than the other one. That's really helpful right now. All right, well, thank you for watching this probably in arrears. Because unfortunately, nobody realized this was on Zoom. That's our fault. Obviously, we did something wrong because we've always had really good participation in this. Posting this up, I will post up and send everybody also the presentation itself if you want that. Reminder that you can log in and use Ops for free to get data. And then if you need help creating your campaigns, your assets on LinkedIn and email, then we can talk to you about doing that for you guys as well. Thank you so much. I think we're going to redo this. Probably again, we'll go back to LinkedIn Live. That seemed to have a really good response. Probably was a mistake. We thought that it wasn't the best way to do it. Apparently that's wrong. We make mistakes. All right. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.